Welcome back to my channel, everyone. I'm Ebony, also known as Coach Lux and owner of Lux Wellness. I'm happy to be back with another video and being able to bring some level of inspiration to you as we talk about healthy isolation. Okay. For those of you that have been with me for a while or that's following me over on Instagram, you know that my background is in mental health therapy and life coaching. So I really want to make sure that I'm bringing a different level of empowerment on today's video and to give you some inspiration to do some things different with yourself in order to get to that mental and emotional place that you deserve. Okay. If you're looking for a community to belong where we talk about happily healing, lifestyle changes, creating balance in our life, and elevating our self-care, then do not forget to hit the subscribe button. I would love to have you a part of the Lux family. Let's get into today's video. First thing I want to talk about is understanding what isolation means for you. As I stated previously, my background is in mental health therapy and life coaching. So as someone who is an expert in behavior management, we look at isolation different based on different circumstances. So now, this is not to say if you are someone who is experiencing depressed mood, okay, over a certain period of time, that isolation is healthy for you. As a professional, we would probably look at that as someone who needs therapeutic services, therapeutic help, and an outlet, right? So I want to be clear that there is two different distinctions as to what I'm talking about today. What I'm talking about today is healthy isolation. If you really reflect on times in your life where you have really tried to work on yourself, whether it's rebranding who you are, really dealing with yourself mentally and emotionally, getting into a place where you're embracing parenting, a new phase of life, a new job, a new career, a new marriage, a new relationship, and you just found your old wounds continuing to haunt you, right? They just continue to show up in your communication, in your behaviors, in your response to people, and the way you took care of yourself. And that's what I'm talking about. You probably were not able to really focus on those things and really redirect your energy, your attention, and your focus on becoming a better version of yourself. Because one, maybe those were things that you had suppressed along the way. You know, there is a lot of us that from our childhood and or our young adulthood and or currently, things that we face right now in our life, we chose not to deal with because maybe it was just too painful. Maybe you didn't feel like it was the right time, or maybe you didn't know how to deal with those situations. And as opposed to embracing them and trying to figure out a way to navigate through those heavy emotions, those heavy mental challenges, we suppressed those feelings and we just went on with life as if those things didn't exist. And some of us have become so comfortable in that practice to, in your mind, those feelings and emotions and or experiences really do not exist, although they're continuing to show up in your life. If you have had an opportunity to reflect and think about times where you've really tried to become a better version of yourself, and you just were not able to, it probably was because you didn't give yourself enough time and or an opportunity to really focus on your healing, really build that level of resilience that you so deserve, right? So when we think about those things, or when we look at those experiences in our life, we think about the time and the effort that we're putting into other things that's redirecting our focus, that doesn't allow us to really pay attention to who we are and the things that are really a stronghold on who we are mentally, emotionally, and even physically. That's what I'm talking about. Healthy isolation to me means quite a few things, and let's break it down. Hope that you got your notepad out, take notes, because this is something that I want you to take with you and really give yourself time to reflect on and build that self-awareness and use it as a tool. All right. So what does healthy isolation really mean? To me, healthy isolation really means giving yourself an opportunity to be in tune into who you are. I know a lot of times when we're managing so many things, we're managing the home, we're managing children, we're managing relationships, we're managing jobs, we're managing entrepreneurship, we're managing lives as caretakers, and we're managing so much. Sometimes it's easy for us to allow ourselves to just slip through the cracks and not really pay attention to how we're feeling or how we're functioning or how we're navigating life at that time. And I think that it's a big deal for you to really learn and or identify if you are making your mental health and emotional wellness a priority. Okay. And that priority is going to look different for all of us because we're all in different situations. We all have different roles that we play. And we wear different hats in our lives day to day, right? And I want you to really get to an understanding as to who you are and how you're functioning in this season of your life. Are you really giving yourself time to really nurture who you are mentally and emotionally? And if you identify and really sit back and think, you'll see you're pouring a lot of energy and a lot of time into things that may not even be a benefit to you, or a lot of people that may not be a benefit to you right now in this season of your life. So therefore, you are just continuing a cycle of neglecting who you are mentally and emotionally. And it's important for you to understand that, because how can you really heal and or work on becoming a better version of yourself when you don't really know what you're working on? You don't know if you're really working on your attitude, your spokesmanship. You don't know if you're working on the way that you're showing up day to day for yourself. You don't know if you are facing and or experiencing mental challenges that you just have definitely ignored, and not purposely, but because you haven't really given yourself the opportunity to pay attention to how you're showing up in your own life every day. And that's one of the biggest things I really want you to take away from this video, is being able to put yourself as a priority in your day-to-day life, just as you do everything else. Okay. And I know somebody's going to say, well, I'm too busy. I work, I'm in school, I have a certain number of children, I'm a single parent, I'm a this, I'm a that. We got to get out of an area where we want to continue to make excuses for allowing ourselves to be comfortable, okay, in disturbing areas and places in our life. Okay. This is a big deal, because if you don't give yourself the opportunity, nobody else is. Happily healing and being on a healing journey is something that's personal. It's very personal. When I say personal, I mean that you're not waiting for someone to give you permission to work on yourself and or to embrace where you are mentally and emotionally. You are not expecting everybody around you to understand, because there may be some people in your life that may not understand where you are mentally and emotionally. Okay. So give yourself time to nurture yourself and identify where are you struggling mentally and emotionally. And in order to give yourself time, you're going to need to go into some level of isolation. All right. Now, this isolation does not mean turn off everybody in your life. All right. That would just be unacceptable. Right. And that would be a big act. And it probably wouldn't be healthy for your mental and emotional well being. Healthy isolation means that you're going to give yourself an opportunity to fall back from the things that's taking up your time, your energy, your mindset, your thoughts, to where you're not able to focus on yourself. And depending on what this situation means to you, you're going to have to identify how you plan to take that level of isolation and incorporate that into your day-to-day life, and really understanding how you're going to use this time to really elevate. Okay, mentally and emotionally. How you're really going to elevate. How are you going to really put in some coping practices in your day-to-day life that's going to help you to get through this journey of where you've been stuck at for so long? So the first thing I want you to do is identify. Now we're talking about self-awareness, right? Building that self-awareness. Identify where you need to create moments. And you may be someone who can only create moments of isolation. I'm not telling you to go missing and fall off the map now, okay? I'm telling you to create moments or times and or phases where you are going to give that time only to you, to nurture who you are mentally and emotionally and even physically. All right. Second micro tip I think would be very beneficial for someone who is trying to learn healthy habits and coping skills and need to understand what healthy isolation looks like. I think you have to really build, okay, you have to build a system that works for you. You have to build some level of coping skills that's beneficial to you, because during that time of isolation, what you do with that time is just as important as to you being able to take the time to pour into yourself. So what are you going to do during this time of isolation? Are you going to start journaling in order to get a better understanding as to who you are and or the things that are hindering you from growing and or being the best version of yourself? Are you going to start exercising? Are you going to take some parenting classes? Are you going to take some art classes? Are you going to get more in tune into the outside world? Meaning you're someone that may have not had time to get the feeling to enjoy what it is to walk every day, to embrace nature. You don't know what it is to really go out and enjoy the sun. You don't know what it really is to be out amongst nature where it supports your mental and emotional health. Okay. And that's going to look different for all of us. You don't know what it really is to embrace yourself in a different way because you haven't had the opportunity to do so, because you've been too busy pouring and overfilling your cup for other things and other people. And you have just gotten a little bit out of shape in your own functioning, in your own existence, right? So first thing is we need to identify and build that self-awareness as to where do we need to build this time, phase, or moments to isolate. And secondly, what are we going to do with that time of isolation? Are you someone that may need to work on your spiritual well-being? I know for a lot of people, this can be difficult, especially if you didn't grow up in a home where spirituality was a practice, right? And but now you're older and you've realized you've been through some things in life, and you realize that people are not always the answer. You're not going to always have individuals in your life that are there to give you the answers, the guidance, the mentoring, and the emotional nurturing that you deserve. You're not going to always have that, right? And if you do have that, I really want to tell you to embrace it while you have it, because I have met so many clients along my career that did not have support systems. So if this is something that you have, I want you to gracefully show up in this moment of where you're able to be embraced mentally and emotionally, and appreciate those people that you have around you. But if you do not have a support system, don't you go running off feeling bad about yourself, because this is where now you are going to build your coping skill toolbox. That's what you're going to depend on. Okay. And this is going to be very critical. This is going to be very critical. Why? Because your coping skills are those things that are going to allow you to navigate through your healing journey, to navigate through rebranding who you are, through navigating and elevating yourself personally or professionally, through navigating through whatever emotional and mental challenges that have held you captive for so long. All right. So you need to be able to understand, what are you going to do with this time? Where do I need to create this moment of isolation and or phases of isolation? And how am I going to really ensure myself that I am putting forth the best foot forth in creating this isolation? That's a trick question, because one of the challenges I think sometimes we have as individuals when we're trying to become um, better versions of ourselves, or healed, or just really trying to create a new life for ourselves, starting over, or creating balance for ourselves, is that we don't identify what is for us, right? We want to do what looks popular. We want to do what's popping on social media. We want to do what we have heard other people say, and we don't even know their story or what their challenges were. I want to strongly encourage you to really sit down and think about what your life means for you. How do you really want to continue to live an intentional life, a purposeful life, with what you have, with who you are, based on your life's experiences, based on what your story is right now, based on the people around you right now, based on your circumstances, based on your limitations, based on your strengths, based on your weaknesses. This is all about you. If you have never been in a place where you were able to give yourself a you season, this is the opportunity I want you to take. This is all about you. Remember, I said your healing journey is personal, and not all isolation is bad isolation. I can recall a time where I was going through a period in life where I was trying to figure some things out, right? I was really trying to figure some things out. I was a single mom. I was a teen mom, and no regrets about that. But there was some things that I had to learn how to navigate through. And thankfully, my parents have always been a strong support system for me. But unfortunately, regardless of the strong support systems that we have, some things we just have to figure out for ourselves. And I had to go into moments of isolation, right? And so let's look at this. I could not stop being a mother, right? So I couldn't isolate myself from that. I couldn't stop being a daughter. So I couldn't isolate myself from that. At that time, I was in college, getting my first degree. I couldn't isolate myself from that because that was a goal that I needed in order to get to my next phase of life, right? In order to better myself, to be a great mom, in order to give my son a opportunity of life that otherwise may not have been possible, right? If I had just stayed stuck in that place of being what society looks at as a single mom, right? And what did I have to isolate myself from? I had to isolate myself from dating. I had to isolate myself from dating. I had to isolate myself from individuals that showed up in my life as friends, right? But after sitting back and being able to observe certain things, certain behaviors, and certain responses, I realized that they probably weren't the friends that I needed at that time in my life because we were going two totally different directions. And it wasn't because we were going two different directions that they weren't the best people. It was because they didn't have my best interest at heart, right? You already see I'm in this position. You already know my story, you know, the circumstances, right? How I got here. And if you're not rooting for me or trying to help me to get to where I need to go, I made that decision at a very young age that I wasn't going to allow difficult and or unfair friendships to hold me back from getting where I needed to go. So I needed to fall back. I needed to isolate myself from that. And me being a person who feels like open communication in most cases is the best communication. And I'll touch a little bit on that because I know somebody's going to say, well, what does she be about most? And that facial expression, right? If you're someone that reads facial expressions such as I do, I'll talk a little bit about it before we wrap up the video. But I was able to say, you know, I'm probably not going to be engaging in many activities. I'm probably not going to be, you know, jumping on board with all these events and activities and going out and hanging out, things that we were doing before, because I'm on a different journey. You know, I gave them a heads up, most of them. Some of them didn't require it, some of them didn't deserve it. And that's okay too. Not everybody deserves a notification as to you becoming a better healed version of yourself. Not everybody needs to know that you're in the moment of elevating. Some people just need to see it. Some people just need to be able to see when you hit the scene again that you are made new, that you are renewed, that you are refurbished, right? That you are, and by refurbished, I mean, yes, you had some experience. Yes, you've been through some things. Yes, you have had some habits. Yes, you've had some strongholds, but you were made new again, right? Because that's really, think about it. When you buy certain things from certain stores and it's refurbished, that's the word they use, refurbished. But it doesn't mean that the value has gone down. It doesn't mean that it doesn't work. It doesn't mean that it's not going to do you any good. It doesn't mean that you're going to be wasting your money if you buy that product. What it means is that this product has been in a different place before you owned it. This product has been used before it got to you, right? You have had to be used in certain experiences in your life and certain circumstances, but you are still of value. You are still of value. You still bring something to the table. You still, all right, you still should be showing up in your life as the renewed version of yourself, right? And I know somebody's going to miss that. So I'm going to say it again. You still have a value to yourself, regardless of what your past history says, regardless of what your rap sheet says, regardless of what people even saying about you, right? Because you got to understand this thing. When you get into a real serious place of rebuilding who you are and really trying to recreate and elevate yourself from your mindset, from your core, from your inner self, there are going to be some things and situations and people that are not going to understand it. They're not going to be happy. They're not going to be supportive. And they're going to try to take you back to that same level of intimidation where they thought you belonged, right? Because at that time, it made you and them equal. So now that you are going to another level of your life, some people don't want to see you go there because then now that means that we're unequal. That means now we don't fit. That means now you acting funny, right? Heard that all before. But listen, don't let those things intimidate you and stop you from going where you deserve to be. Do not let your past experiences stop you from going where you deserve to be. I can recall when I, was getting to different phases in my life, and it would always be this one person to come back, or someone that knew somebody to come back and say, well, weren't you dated and is your baby I'm like, well, why are we talking about that, and why is that a level of concern? But to answer your question, yes. And I had never felt I never got angry, or I never felt out of place when I had to answer yes to those questions. And I'll tell you why, because those yes meant that I understood my story. That part of my life that they probably were inquiring about, it's a part of my story. It's a part of my makeup. It's a part of who I am. And it's a part of myself that I am not ashamed of, because one thing I want to encourage you to do is redirect your mindset as to how you look at your past. Redirect your mindset as to how you look at your experiences. And I know for some of you, this may be tough, depending on what your experiences were, how they affected your life, how they impacted your life. But redirect your mindset as you continue on your healing journey to look at those things as your milestones, as your stepping stones, as your teaching moments, right? And one of the things I always encourage individuals, from my children to my students, and when I say students, I'm a professor in higher education, is to remain teachable. We have to remain teachable. We have to remain open-minded to learn something new, regardless of where we're trying to go in life, right? But do not allow your past experiences to make you feel like you can't move forward. You can't rebrand or rebuild who you are. And during those moments and or phases, depending on what your needs are of isolation, this is where you're going to get to know yourself much more. A lot of you think you know who you are, but I assure you, if we had a session together and I asked you, who are you? You would not be able to really describe and or verbalize who you are. You'll be able to tell me your name. You'll be able to tell me the things that you like. You'll be able to tell me the things that you've done. But how many of you can really sit and say you know who you really are? That's a deep question. Okay. So this moment of healthy isolation is your opportunity to get in tune as to your cognitive ability. What is your perspective of life? That's really what your cognitive ability is. What is your perspective of life? How do you see yourself right now? What do you believe that you could achieve and accomplish? What do you believe your emotional recovery requires in this season of your life? What do you feel you need to require of other people right now in your life? Are you in a good place where you can set healthy boundaries so that you are not only able to practice your coping skills, but you're able to protect yourself from going through those continued emotional and mental cycles that you experienced before? What does your level of emotional recovery really mean to you right now? Does it mean that you need to forgive, even if it's forgiving yourself? Does it mean that you need to be forgiven? Right? What does this really mean to you? Does this mean that you now need to break your silence and go and enroll into mental health therapy, or work with a psychiatrist, or get with a life coach, or go and join a support group, or go and join a substance abuse recovery program? What does this mean to you? Does this mean that you need to break your silence on your infertility journey? Does this mean that you need to let someone know that you are still in an area where you are suffering from childhood trauma and it's continuing to show up, and maybe this person doesn't understand why your behaviors are showing up the way that they are? Is this your opportunity to have the sensitive conversation that needs to be had? Remember that healthy isolation is our moments and or phases and or time where we give ourselves, right? We give ourselves the opportunity to recover emotionally and mentally. We give ourselves the opportunity to learn more about who we are so that we can continue to show up in the lives of those that we love, those that we appreciate. And even if you are right now just focused on showing up in your own life, all right, this is still detrimental to you being able to live and continue on with a healthy emotional well-being, because what I don't want for you is for you to continue with these emotional and mental blockages that show up in your behaviors and show up in the way that you treat people, show up in the way that you talk to people, show up in the way that you parent, show up in the way that you love, show up in the way that you trust, show up in the way that you take care of yourself. Because so often those things can be easily missed right? Because we get to a moment or a phase where we say, this is just who I am. This is just who I am. This is not who you are. This is what you were made to be through your life experiences. And if you start to look at things like that, or if you start paying more attention to how you function and navigate through your life, you'll be able to say, you know what, this is not made of me. This is not who I am. I am this way because of this experience. I am this way because of this level of trauma or this level of abuse. I am this way because of this level of failed relationships or this level of engagement with certain types of people that I've allowed in my safe space. I am this way because I'm still angry about some things. I am this way because I'm still hurt about some things. Show up as your true self as you continue on your healing journey. And remember that you deserve this. You don't need to wait for anybody to come and validate what you deserve, who you are, and if your emotions and or mental challenges are real. Too often we wait on individuals to come and give us the go. You don't need to wait for anybody to come and give you the go. I'm giving you the green light. I'm giving you the permission. I'm giving you the safe space to start working on you, to create a safe space for you, to do it for you, to show up for you, and to give yourself an opportunity to happily heal. I hope that somebody was inspired by this video, and leave me a comment down below and let me know where you are in your journey and how you are coping right now. You don't have to get into details and tell us all, but I'm always wanting to build a stronger community here on this platform. And a part of that is us being able to communicate and build a rapport. And a part of building that rapport is being connected. So I really want to know what your thoughts is on today's video. Share this video with a friend who may need it, with a family member who may need it. Share this video with somebody who needs to hear this level of inspiration and that needs to be encouraged to give their selves a moment, a phase, and an opportunity to practice healthy isolation, especially if this is someone who you know is in a healthy relationship. Because I think some of the time we focus on just having somebody around, right? We just want to fulfill that void of being lonely, that we keep people that are unhealthy for us in our life. And it interrupts us being able to personally regroup. It really does. It really I cannot tell you how many individuals I have counseled that have been affected negatively by continued relationships that they were just comfortable in, that they allowed themselves to be engaged in, knowing that there was no benefit there. And when I say benefit, I'm talking about emotionally and mentally. They may have had other levels of benefits, right? But then you think about it, when you think about things that we sometimes settle in unhealthy relationships for, is it really a benefit? You're giving up who you are mentally and emotionally for what? For a car, for a bag, for a purse, for just to have somebody that's coming through, just to have somebody to call you babe, just to have somebody to say they love you occasionally, just to have somebody to spend birthdays and holidays with. No, let me tell you something. If this hit home, you deserve to have the whole package. You deserve to have somebody that truly loves you, adores you, and that chooses you. Okay. I know there is a lot of us that's thinking about our biological clock and we're like, man, we ain't got time for that. We do not have any more time to waste. I need to get it while the getting is good. But listen, the getting is not that good if it's still emotionally breaking you. If it's still emotionally breaking you and you're not able to get to a point where you are just internally happy, internally taking care of yourself, and you're not showing up as your true self, then it's not worth it. All right. Share this video with somebody that just needs to hear another voice of reason. Share this video with somebody that is willing to be open-minded, to say, you know what? This was my wake-up call. This was the video that I needed. This is the confirmation that I needed. Okay. And I want to make sure that we get into an era of life where we're not ashamed of our experiences, right? But we utilize our experiences to become happily healed. And while we're on that journey of being happily healed, that we embrace whatever emotion comes with it. Negative emotions are sometimes needed. If you didn't have the negative emotions, then you wouldn't really know what positive emotions are. You wouldn't know how to appreciate the positive emotions. You wouldn't know when you're on a good track of really dealing with yourself mentally, emotionally, if you didn't have the negative emotions that came with it. And I know for some of you, your life experiences was one for the books, right? It's like, oh my God, Ebony, do you really want me to revisit this part of my life? And yes, I do. I want you to revisit that part of your life. And I want you to be able to consciously think about how you're going to navigate and move forward from it. Don't stay stuck in your victimized state. Okay. You are not what happened to you. You are not what you've done to yourself in your past. And you are not what others may have said that you are. Get on it, embrace it, and move forward. Remember, healthy isolation tells us a lot about ourselves. Healthy isolation is going to be your primary resource as you continue to move forward, okay, in your healing journey, because these are the moments and the opportunities, like I said before, these are the moments and opportunities that are going to give you time to really reflect on who you are, what you require, and what you deserve. I hope that this was meaningful to somebody. I really do. I really hope that once you watch this video that you would think different about yourself, think different about your life, think different about your mental health and your emotional wellness, okay? And just continue to be true to who you are. Most importantly, trust yourself. I'll see you in the next one. Don't forget to hit that subscribe button. And if you're not following me over on Instagram, I would love to have you at Luxe, Luxe _wellness LLC. See y'all in the next one.